Good morning, guys. Welcome to the class. Today, in this lecture, we are going to discuss about what is meant by a rail and what are the component parts of a rail. Component parts of rails. What is meant by rail? What is meant by rail and its functions of rails, and what are the requirements for an ideal rail and types of rails, and also point of crossing. What are the major components of rails? Rails, sleepers, fasteners, ballast, or slab track and subgrade. These are the five major elements which are used in placing up of a track. Next, what is meant by rail? The rails are the members of the track laid in two parallel lines which are unchanging, continuous, and level surface for the easy movements of trains. In other words, we can say that the members of a track which are in two numbers in a parallel line and unchangingly continuous for the movement of easy passage of a train, the surface should be leveled. And also, these rails are made up of carbon steel to withstand high amount of stresses which are produced by the locomotive while starting or braking of rail of the locomotive. Next, what are the major functions of rails? Rails which acts as steel girders, and these rails also provide a smooth and has a little friction. The, these rails serves as lateral guide for the wheels, and these rails also bear the stresses developed due to vertical loading transmitted through locomotive wheels and axles, which is of moving train or locomotive of rolling stock, as well as while applying the brake and also the thermal forces. The major function of a rail are it serves as a lateral guide for wheels and to withstand the stresses developed due to vertical load transmitted by the locomotive through axles and wheels, and also while applying brake and also by thermal forces. What are the types of rails? These are majorly two types of rails based on the materials we used and the shape of the rails. Based on the materials, we have wooden wooden rails, cast iron, malleable, and wrought and steel rails are the major rails. And based on the shape, the different types of shapes of the rails are double-headed rail, bull-headed rail, and flat-footed rail. These are mainly three rail which we are using in the railways. In the early days of railways, we have used most of them are double-headed rails, and by going on lateral it has been changed for bull-headed, and nowadays 90 percentage of rails are using flat-footed rails. uh, the major benefit of using double-headed rail and bull-headed rail are they are easy to renewal, and it is very difficult for the renewal for the flat-footed rail. The major defect we have seen, we can observe for the double-headed and bull-headed are initial cost and breakage can occur, ruptures can form in the rails by continuous loads while applying continuous loads for the locomotive. The flat-footed rail can withstand major loads produced by the locomotive. In this regarding, what are the consistent what are the parts of a double-headed rail? The upper part of the here we can see the upper part of the rail is is also known as head, and bottom part of the rail is known as foot. This middle part is known as web. For this double-headed rail, the dimensions for the head part is 70 mm as as it is of bottom foot is of 70 mm. The height of the rail is of 152 mm, and the thickness of the web is of 19 mm. The height of the web is of 64 mm. Here we can observe that the bottom of the head and top of the foot are given these shapes for fixing up of for deliberately fix they can deliberately fix these chairs, these fastenings and fastenings more comfortably by seeing these shapes while using these shapes. Here in the double headed rails, the head and foot are of identical. Uh, the major idea behind these double headed rails are to develop the life of rails, to expand the life of rails. But these has been these double-headed rails is a failure due to uh, while why because the chairs we provide to position the rails in particular gauge length, these chairs these chairs are the reason behind the failure of a double-headed rail. The surface of the lower, that means foot of the double-headed rail, is very rough hand, and smooth running of these locomotive is disturbed by the chairs chairs. So it is not possible for the locomotive to run smoothly on this rough hand, or while placing of chairs. This is not as smooth and as possible as a running of a locomotive. These are not practically in use. These are not in use nowadays. These are all upgraded to the flat-footed rails. The length varies from 610 to 732 centimeters. 610 to 732 centimeters. Wrought iron is the material. Wrought iron is the material used to manufacture these rails. Now, what is double-headed rail? The upper and the bottom, the head and foot are identical, and these are not practically in use nowadays. And also the ruptures, the failures can be seen in these double-headed rail because of the chairs provided to support these rails to the sleepers cannot withstand or not maintaining smooth running of locomotive, so that these double-headed rails are a failure. So the material used in these rails are wrought iron. The length of these double-headed rail is varies from 610 to 732 centimeters. This is the image, and these are the upper and lower, similar, identical upper and lower web and foot and head, so that 70 mm length is seen both on up and down of the double-headed rail. The height of this rail is 152 mm, and the height of this web portion is of 64 mm. The height of each head and foot is of 44 mm. So next, bull-headed rails. These bull-headed rails, the name itself indicates the head of this rail is more when considered to their foot. So the head portion is of more dimension when compared to the foot of the bull-headed rail. These also consists of three parts, like as double-headed rail, head, web, and foot. The foot is designed only to properly hold the wooden keys with which the rails are secured to chairs, and to provide necessary strength to the rail. For each sleeper, we can observe two cast iron chairs are placed for an each sleeper, and these are extensively used in England and some other parts of Europe. The main line of standard rail is of weight of 47 kgs, and for the branch line it is of 42 kgs. The length of the rail is generally is of 18.29 meters. Here you can observe the head of the bull-headed rail is more in dimensions when compared to the bottom foot of this bull-headed rail. Here, the dimensions of head are 68.66 mm, and for the foot it is of 64 mm. The overall height of this rail is of 145 mm. When compared to double-headed rail, the height has been decreased, and the thickness of the web is also decreased. The thickness of this web for bull-headed rail is of 16.27 mm. Here the web height is similar, that is of a double-headed rail, which is 64 mm. The major advantages by a bull-headed rail is rails keep better alignment and provide more smoother and stronger track. These rails provide longer life to the sleepers, which is mainly for wooden sleepers, and have greater stability to the track. These rails are easily removed from sleepers, and hence the renewal of the track is easy. Same which is of double-headed rail, the renewal of the track is easy, and here the major disadvantages, demerits for this bull-headed rails is the additional cost of iron chairs provided on each sleeper with two numbers. This uh, can increase the cost of the track, laying up of a track. So the initial amount of cost for laying up of a bull-headed rail has been increased due to cost of iron chairs, and these requires heavy maintenance cost, and bull-headed rails are of less strength and stiffness. These are of less strength and stiffness. This is the bull-headed rail. We can observe the dimensions of the upper head is high when compared to the bottom of the rail. Here, these are the chairs for each sleeper. This is the sleeper. For each sleeper, we can observe two cast iron chairs provided on each on other side. So the keys to hold this position of the rail, the keys are helpful for maintenance of a perfect gauge length for this track. This is the coach screw to with place the to withstand the place for the track to hold from its original position, do not take any lateral movement. These coach screws are helpful for the chairs to withstand that. So, next, flat footed rails. Flat footed rails. These are invented by Charles Vignals in the year 1836, and these flat-footed rails are also called as Vignals rails. In this type of rail, foot is spread out to form a base. In this previous, we have seen that the for bull-headed and double-headed, there is no base which is formed originally from its source, so that the chairs are placed to withstand, to withhold the position of rail in particular gauge length. So here we are not using these particular chairs for flat footed rails. These are highly popular and most commonly used in railways. 90%, majorly 90% of the railway tracks consists of flat footed rails. No chairs, you can observe, no chairs are provided in this form of rails. The foot of the rail is directly spiked into the sleepers. The foot, the base plate, which is of base, the foot is directly spiked, directly driven into that by using of bolt or spikes. It can be directly plunged into the sleeper. This type of rails are economical, and this form of rail is more stiffer both vertically and laterally than the bull-headed rail of equal weight. These are less liable to kings. Kings. Kings is nothing but deformations that are observed while uh, loads of locomotive or while starting or braking. While applying a brake, these kings can be observed, or else the continuous constant loads that are put forward on the track, the deformations that occurs is nothing but kings, and provide a uniform and more regular surface than the bull-headed rails. Longer life than the these flat-footed rails are having longer life than the bull-headed rails. This is the image of the flat foot rail. Here you can observe this foot is acts as a base in which these are directly spiked. These are spiked to the sleeper without any using of chairs to withhold the position of these flat-footed rail. These shapes, the top of the foot and the bottom of the head, these are these shapes which gives for the fish plate joint to immerse or to position in this particular rails to join each other. These are the dimensions. The width of the railhead is 66.68 mm, and these cuttings, these shapes are in of 1 is to 3 ratio, and for the foot it is of 1 is to 6. The thickness of the foot is of 0.64 mm, and the length of the base or foot is of the width of the foot is of 136.53 mm. The head of height 43.66 mm. Overall height of this rail is of 142.88 mm. The thickness of the web is of 13.89. You can observe here the thickness has been decreased when compared to the bull-headed. That is decreased when compared to the double-headed. For double-headed, the thickness of the web is of 19 mm. For bull-headed, it is of 16.87 mm, and for this you can observe here 13.89 mm. The major advantages for these flat-footed rails are it is of having more strength and stiffness. No chairs are required for holding them in position. These rails require less number of fastenings, when compared to the bull-headed and double-headed. The maintenance cost of the track formed with flat-footed rails is less when compared to those previous both. The major disadvantages is these fastenings and fittings are getting loosened more frequently. These rails are not easily removed, and hence renewal of the track becomes difficult. For the renewal of the tracks, it is very difficult, and for the double-headed and bull-headed, it is very easy for the renewal of track. It is difficult to manufacture points and crossings by using these rails. That crossings of the tracks is difficult while manufacturing of these flat-footed rails when compared to the bull-headed and double-headed rails. These are most economical when coming to the point of economical. These are most economical when compared to that, because the maintenance cost is very low, or for when compared to the bull-headed and double-headed. The flat-footed rails are most economical in the point of view of maintenance cost, and these are very risky while renewal of track. Next, what are the major requirements of rails? The section of the rails should be able to withstand the lateral forces caused due to the fast moving of trains. The lateral movements due to the fast moving of trains. The bottom of the head and the top of the foot should be given such shapes that fish plates can be easily fitted. The center of the gravity of the rail section should preferably coincide the center of the height of the rail, so that maximum tensile and compressive stresses are nearly equal. The section of the rail should be such that the load of each wheels is transferred to the sleepers without exceeding the permissible stresses. Here, from for this point, you can clearly observe the shape of these 1 is to 3 ratio shape of these bottom of the head and top of the foot is given these shapes for fitting up of fish plates, the joining plates of one track to one rail to another rail. The fish plates are used for this fish plates. It is very easy to be fitted in this configuration. So the web of the rail section should be such that it can easily bear the vertical load without buckling. Without buckling, the rail section, rail section, the web rail section can withstand those loads. The head of the rail should be sufficiently thick for adequate margin of vertical wear. The bottom of the section of the rail. The major requirements of the rails are to withstand the lateral forces caused due to fast moving trains. The bottom of the head and top of the foot are given that shapes that fish plates can be easily fitted. The head of the rail should be sufficiently thick for adequate margin of vertical wear. The contact area between the rail and wheel flange should be as large as possible to reduce the contact stresses. The overall height of the rail should be adequate to provide sufficient stiffness and strength as a simply supported beam. The section of the rails should be such that the two ends of two adjacent rails can be effectively jointed with a pair of fish plates. two adjacent rails, that is of end of a main line to the starting of another rail, can be joined easily by pair of fish plates. These are the track components we can see here. This is the rail, this is the rail, and these bottom, beneath the rail, we can observe sleepers. These are of wooden sleepers, and these are the fasteners used to maintain the trail in particular position. And these aggregates that have that is of ballast here. And types of rail joints, types of rail joints: first one, fish plate joint; second one, fasteners; third one, slide chairs, junction plate, bearing joint, and chairs. Here you can see the end of the first rail to the starting of the second rail. The joint used for this rail is known as fish plate joint. Next, these are the fasteners. This is the flat footed rail which is directly immersed on the sleeper by spiked into the sleepers. You can observe these are the fasteners joints. These are very loose, and these are loosened by constant applying of loads, while jolting effect can be seen in the rails, so that for that moment these fasteners can easily be removed. Next, slide chair joints. These are the slide chair joints. You can see in this image that these joints, for a pair of for one sleeper, a pair of chairs are used for bull-headed and double-headed. These increase the cost of these increase the initial cost of laying up of a track, so that the flat-footed rails are used, but the renewal of the track is very difficult. This is the junction plate. In this junction plate, you can see these are the bolt fittings used. One plate is absolutely jointed from one end of the rail to the starting of the rail. And what is meant by point of crossing? What is meant by point of crossing? It is nothing but moving that locomotive move from one route to another route, which is known as point of crossing. The point crossing, turnout, crossovers, and such related terms are arrangement by which different routes, either parallel or connected, and offer the means for terms to move from one route to another route, is called point of crossing. This point of crossing is helpful for moving up of one locomotive from for different directions. So the crossings, how do we lay the crossings? Here are the components of switch off that locomotive. Which, the major requirements for the switching up of a locomotive from one route to another route is of a pair of tongue rails, heel block, stretcher bar, and a slide chair. A pair of tongue rails, which is sharp at the starting of the rail and will deliberately increase and have a separate path from the main line, is known as tongue rail. And heel block helpful for the rails to maintain that separation part, to maintain the gap between the two rails. These heel blocks are plays a major role in switching off locomotive. And the stretcher bar is the major part that includes moving up of train from one path to another path. the slide chairs. Here we can have the image for the tongue rails, a pair of stock rails. This is if this is the main rail, we can see the stock rails, the additional joints for movement of train from one route to another route, or to enroute the train from one direction to another direction, and a pair of tongue rails. Here you can see this is a tongue rail. The starting of the uh, rail is of very narrow, or uh, so the train moving up of the track, the inward, the wheel, the shape of the wheel is of cone in shape, so that the movement of this uh, track or the locomotive, the axles and wheels can move, can slide easily on this track, so that they can move forward and maintain these gaps by heel blocks for the separation of these two rails. The movement of the train can easily change it from one direction to another direction. This is the placement of heel block for changing of direction from one path to another part. These are the fasteners used, and this is the RCC member of sleeper. This is the ballast you can see here, and stretcher bar. This plays a major role. Previously, in the early stages of rails, we can have a lever arm arrangements here, so that if you pull that lever arm, the stretcher bar will move from one direction to another direction, so that that locomotive can move from one track to another track. If the changing of tracks can be seen, if the changing of tracks can be occurred while pulling up of lever arm, so that the movement of track changement can be observed here. So this plays a vital role for, but nowadays these lever arms has been replaced with electronic devices, and these are controlled in the storeroom, staff room, sorry. And these stretcher bars can be easily changed from one path to another path by pressing up of a button. So these can be easily changed. The movement of train from one path to another path can be observed here itself, can be observed here. And point of switch, here you can see this tongue rail. The point of switch consists of stock rail and a tongue rail. A point is consists of left hand and right hand switch. Based upon the stretcher bar, while moving up of a train for the main branch to the main lane to the branch line, we can move the stretcher bar from one direction to another direction by switching off of a button. The movement of the train can easily be seen, while moving up of train. These are the slide chairs used for placement of rails in their particular position to maintain the gauge length of train, gauge length of train. Thank you. Meet you in the next class.